Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bhairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. So, if you have been a part of my Facebook community, my personal page, my professional page, you know there's been a lot of stir-up and ongoings happening there on Facebook land for the past couple of days. And I've let everything settle down to a point of balance and lots of freedom before making a video on everything that's going on. And so this is why I'm now posting it on Instagram and YouTube in the hope that it will initiate a similar exodus where required. Now, most of you know me for whether it's astrology or spirituality. You know me for my directness. You know that I do not tolerate bullshit, and I will always stand up for the rights of the vulnerable and the marginalized where I can engage. And obviously I can't engage on all things. But something shifted for me and focused my attentions recently, and it was, of course, the climate activism work done by the teen activist Greta Thunberg. And yes, I know a lot of people have a lot of theories. Truth be told, nobody knows the full truth. There may be funding involved. There may be cover-ups involved. There may be all kinds of things involved when you look at the grand scheme of things. But truthfully, when we look at the spiritual histories of this planet, the conspiracies that we are hung up about right now pale in comparison. Spiritualists who have a very, very long memory of what was before would understand what I'm talking about. In the name of being woke, a lot of people are performing spirituality. So, there's this term that I encountered called performative wokeness. And I've been seeing that been really triggering and challenging for a lot of people, especially since Greta's most recent speech at the United Nations, where she pressed the red button when she said, "How dare you?" I loved it. In fact, I cried. Now, for me, Greta is a very inspiring figure. I can't say I can agree with the conspiracy theorists, but I do respect their right to have a different opinion. The moment we tell people that it is wrong for them to have certain thoughts, we are engaging in a violation of free will. However, whether it's in my inbox or whether it's on my pages or in my newsfeed, when I see people actively spreading hate about a teenager, irrespective of what their views are, their political platforms are, their spiritual platforms are, I will speak up and I will be loud. Because there is absolutely no justification for the kind of cruelty and hate that the figure of this young woman is being subjected to by anyone, especially those who claim to be spiritualists. Now, I'm not wanting to make this entirely a race issue because people have observed this pattern coming up from different groups of people. For the general public, a lot of the anger tends to come from middle-aged men. But in my community, the groups, or the community that's emerged around me, unfortunately, I have seen the overwhelming number of negative comments come from Caucasian women aged between 30 to 50 who either identify themselves as spiritualists and or environmentalists. And this is where I've seen in my circles the most vitriol coming from. Given that I am a woman of color who has spoken about cultural appropriation, the space that is needed for healing the rage that people of color feel when they see their work stolen, when they see their narratives, their sacred spiritual tools stolen without proper acknowledgement. I'm kind of wondering when and how people forgot who I was and what values I carry when I speak. And unfortunately, this particular demographic is the one that has been most triggered by the whole Greta phenomenon. Part of that is her age. A lot of people will be asking her, "How dare you? I've been doing this, talking about this for so long. How dare you get a platform and not me?" I have literally seen people who, claim to be working for the environment, and all they can really have a gripe about is, she's not talking about my particular cause, so I'm going to boycott the climate strike. Where WTF? I've seen people who claim themselves to be spiritualists saying, well, she didn't do anything, she's just noise. Well, people, no matter what you think about her, she galvanized 4 million people in a year. That's something. I've also been seeing people who, want to project a lot of narratives on her, that she's a narcissist. For fuck's sake. How would you even know that? A lot of people who are doing this have not even done any research on this person at a personal level. They keep sharing links that are funded by very shadowy people, or that are anonymously put out there. Not by anonymous, just, put out by people who won't even show their face, and certain things that can just be fact-checked on Snopes.com. There's some people who don't even know that the kid is autistic. Which brings me to another point. A lot of spiritual people, so-called spiritual people, are using the argument that it is okay to pour hate on this person because they think that she is a puppet. You know what? Everyone is controlled by something. That is the truth of it. Whether it's karma, whether it's a government, whether it's whatever. Most of us are not operating in the truest sense on free will. And so if we start pointing that finger, we're going to have a billion fingers pointing straight back at us. But a lot of that hate comes from the fact that Greta is autistic. People on the Asperger autism spectrum sometimes communicate very, very differently. And sometimes they look and sound like me, because I was a lot like that at that age. Sometimes they're very intense. Sometimes they're a little bit, they've got a more normal range, whatever normal is, but a more common range of facial expressions. And sometimes they just look you dead in the eyes and tell you the truth. And this expression has been used against this person. Her autism is being used as a reason to dehumanize her. And this is where I have been using my voice, and I have been using it loud. Like I said, I don't particularly care about, individual opinions, because you've got the right to it. But when people start sharing especially cruel memes, cruel photos, cruel comparisons about a person with autism, that is when I get pissed off. Having an opinion is okay. Enabling a hate crime, an ableist hate crime to happen, is actually illegal. It is a form of libel and slander. And whilst I encourage people to ask questions and be discerning always, do your own research. Watch her videos if you're that interested in talking about her. And remember that unless you have had personal experience with a range of individuals on the spectrum, unless you understand how they present themselves and how difficult it is to brainwash, manipulate, or try and control a child with autism in the first place, do not make comments about her, at least on my page, unless, of course, you would like to have a personal response. There are, of course, a lot of bots, trolls and bots that have come after me after I've opened my mouth on this. They keep sharing the same links. There's no photo, no images on their Facebook profile. They just keep sharing the same links over and over and over again and trying to call me a narcissist or a drama queen or whatever. I don't give a shit. But there are those people who are trying to spread very vile forms of misinformation about this person, and that should get you thinking. Who are they, and why do they not show their face? You want a conspiracy theory? Look into that first. Now, so I've said what I want to say about Greta, but more generally, the reactions that I see from the spiritual community tell me that there is a big, big underbelly that just got poked by this one teenager going, "How dare you?" For me, the experience of her speech is a wonderful live example of what it means to have sacred rage. If any one of you have spent even 10 days, 20 days, a month, If any one of you have gone and stood up, spent your time holding up a sign, school, strike for schools for the climate, not sure the exact translation, but holding up that sign or a sign like that every single day outside a public body, without any coverage, without any whatever, just standing there. If any one of you have had that kind of dedication and commitment to a cause in real life and not just on Facebook, then maybe you will understand what it means to feel for something. The reason why I say performative wakeness is because a lot of people have looked for spiritual teachers because they want to have that next pedestal. I'm ascended, I'm enlightened, I'm whatever. And they go to a lot of spiritual teachers, some of whom are also spreading these messages of hate. Spiritual teachers are spreading these divisive messages of hate against a teenager. Or they're claiming, as one woman wrote to me today, that they can fix her. FFS, this is ridiculous. But unless you have that kind of a life experience where you care so much about something that you're actually willing to do something about it, you won't know what that commitment feels like. And you won't know what hit you when the rage behind whatever it is you are passionate about and committed to just comes out at you. That's what we've been talking about. Shadow work, sacred rage, that's what it looks like. It's not pretty. It doesn't smell like rainbow cotton candy. It comes out as a roar. That is sacred rage. So for people who are dismissing her for her anger, for her intensity, and calling them spiritual, especially the people who follow me, what on earth have you been listening to me saying? I'm pissed off now. But basically, what on earth are you doing in my space? If you can get angry at a teenager for expressing her truth in the way that she sees fit. I mean, I don't buy this propaganda stuff because honestly, they are not that inventive. If they wanted to find someone, they would have found someone a lot more photogenic, a lot more, glamorous, whatever. Not a kid in pigtails or rather a plat who just, I've seen her live interviews when she's not, reading out what she's written, her speeches and whatever. Kid doesn't even know how to laugh, and I don't mean that in a bad way. She has social stuff going on. She's on the spectrum. It's just like the worst person you could pick in a certain way if you were just trying to manipulate people and schmooze your way into their consciousness. Nah, this is real. And a lot of parents or people who are parents of children or people who are on the spectrum themselves have come out in support of me speaking on this because they know a truth teller when they see one. It's not something you can script. It's not an experience that you can have any two ways about. It is raw truth in your face. And that's what this child brings. So I've taken a very strong stand on this, and I just said, look, I don't want my energy to be taken by anybody who's going to say a word against this person. You want to have your theories? Okay. You want to think that she's, first lieutenant of the flying spaghetti monster? Whatever. I don't care. But hate crimes, libel, slander. One meme even had her face juxtaposed to Chucky, the murderous little doll in the Chucky movies. And they look the same. I mean, seriously? Spiritual people are doing this? What the hell? So my sacred rage has come out. The whole Mama Bear sacred rage thing. And people are losing their shit at me over it. So I've been called a sham. I've been called narcissist. I've been called what else have I been called? God, I don't know. I've been called so many things, including the kitchen sink, that it's hilarious. And I keep asking people, who exactly have you been following? I am understandably, most of the time, generally chill. Most of the time will be very, very civil, even to people who don't necessarily deserve it. Most of the time, I'm a fairly nice individual. But when injustice happens, I will speak up and I will speak loud. That is my teaching. It is all about spirituality meeting action. saying, this is beneath me, I'm just going to go away now, is burying your head in the sand. Because, honey bunches, if you think this year was tough, wait for next year. This is where all of us need to make a stand, and I have made my stand against people who perpetuate hate crimes against a teenager. Again, there is absolutely room and necessity for a recent civil discourse on what is going on with her and with the movement that she is a part of. Those kinds of questions are always legitimate, but the way it's being done is nasty, petty, and extremely unspiritual. There is so much of disassociation happening from people who are love and light on the one minute, and on the other hand, she's a puppet manipulated by blah, 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 blah. How? Seriously, spirituality is not a costume. You don't just wear it when it suits you. You live it every single day. That's it. It has to come from the core of you. Now, a lot of you people are going to be very triggered by this, and you're going to want to say shit. I don't care. I did not start this job for anybody's approval or anyone's instigation. Lord knows I'm not funded by anybody to do this. It would make my life easier, but no. Spirit told me to do it, and I got into this. There are still so many other things I can do to make a buck if I want to. But no, I think the thing that's really shaken people is that they finally realized people who live their truth do not live on other people's approval. They do not require their opinion. They are going to do what is right, what rings true in their own moral compass. And I know a lot of people get uncomfortable when people bring out their sacred rage, because there's going to be a part in them going, why am I not feeling this? And they're not going to want to acknowledge it, because life gets uncomfortable when you actually listen to the parts of yourself that are saying, I got to do something, but, I'm too scared to act, or what can I do? Life gets uncomfortable when you're willing to put yourself out there. And that's what I've always done. It's not the most comfortable career, I can tell you that. And this is not like a fashion statement for me to make, because it's cost me friendships that have lasted years. It's cost me customers. It's cost me subscriptions. That is okay, because I came here to do my job. And if, even if there's absolutely no one left that supports me or understands me or the vibration that I act on, then Spirit will just ask me to go to something else. That's totally okay. But the thing that really threw me was, I spent my time trying to explain why I was taking a personal stand on this, because, I'm in no way making comparisons. I do have certain similarities with Greta. I was one of those, socially, I would say, definitely on the spectrum when I was younger and showed a lot of those traits. But, highly gifted, finished my high school at 13, became the country's youngest lecturer at 16, and I'd already spoken to 100,000 people before the age of social media. And so I know what it is to be in the public eye at that age when people don't even think you're a person. How do you have these thoughts? How are you able to say what you're saying? I was lecturing about neuroplasticity and the brain and rewiring it. Who groomed you? Who taught you? I've been asked all those questions. I know how dehumanizing it is when someone simply cannot believe that you are a human being, because you speak different, you look different, you act different. I learned a lot of ways to cope. Hell, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as the spectrum till recently. So when me and my older brother, who also showed a lot of the same traits, looked at it, we went, shit, that was our childhood. Holy hell, we never knew. But yeah, it was a real eye-opener. And when I see this girl going through what she's going through and looking at the videos, I know that she went through such a huge depression when she was so young, didn't even eat, didn't talk to people for a year. And I've been there as well, around the same age. I know that standing up for someone like that to do what is honorable in the world is absolutely important. That's why I feel so strongly about this. And you can go on my Facebook and look at the discussions that have come up from that. But even if you don't like her, There is absolutely no harm in being a better human being, in being a better citizen, denizen of this biosphere. There's no harm in doing that at all. Just do the best you can and stay out of the hate. In my case, in people who follow my particular path, which is very much a path of burning and flaming truth, do not be afraid to stand up to people who spread hate and ask you to accept it in the name of the freedom of speech or in the name of, I'm spiritual and wise, I'm intuiting all of this. No, there is nothing spiritual about picking on a vulnerable, easy target who cannot fight back. Question teachers, question people who use their platform to do this against a teenager. Who knows? Maybe the conspiracy theories are right, but she is still a human being. And just because she may talk a certain way, because she's autistic, does not make her a robot or a puppet. It makes her different. Understand what being on the spectrum is before you try to judge what a human being should look like and sound like. You want to talk about spirituality? Start by looking in the mirror and the judgments that you have made. And obviously that doesn't apply to everyone, because there are so many members of my tribe that came out white, brown, blue, black, yellow, whatever, and we said in one voice, no. Those are the people that have understood what I stand up for and what my path and my teaching is. Those of you who are triggered and left, sayonara. Those of you who are wondering, shit, do I want to follow this woman? As I've always said, there's an open door for you to go. And those who are sticking on, keep sticking on, keep saying the right thing, and do not be afraid to voice your truth. That does not mean that everything that goes in your head or everything that you read is correct. It means voice your truth, but also remember that there is a certain threshold beneath which humanity should not be allowed to go to, lest we find ourselves in even more dire straits than before. Spirituality should never ever be used as a means of justifying bigotry. And that is what I have seen come up. All this talk on spiritual bypassing and people did not get the fucking memo. Well, they got it now. And they're going to keep getting it, because this girl and everyone inspired by her is going to speak even louder than before. And everyone in their own way who has heard the message will act from the heart. Just remember, love and light can be the most powerful source of in the universe itself, as long as you're not using it as a cover for inaction. That's probably what I have to say. Take care. Ciao, ciao. Many blessings. And well done, those of you who are staying on. Bye.